Well, talking about cultural biases, you think, and everybody else thinks, Khan should be Indian in this movie.
He is Indian.
No, he's not
Yes,
anymore.
but
That's
that
why-
doesn't make sense.
But I like the fact that these movies
he
are.
is Indian.
But these movies are leaning towards reboot instead of continuation. And they split it down the middle. With
I
the
feel
first...
like they were in a nice place that they could have had it both ways.
Yeah, but
and they're ignoring that for some reason. I don't know why.
They
could have new stories. They could do new things.
They
rather
could,
than just
but
remake Wrath of Khan. It's lazy.
When you have a thing like Star Trek, and you try to make an original story with Star Trek, it's really hit and miss, isn't it? Like everybody kind of agrees that the Star Trek movies go like this.
Yeah, they do. It's actually, I have an interesting point about that. The Star Trek movies, if you don't know, the even-numbered ones are the good ones. Motion picture, Wrath of Khan, Search for Spock. Wait, how's that? Yeah, Search
Voyage
for Spock,
Home?
Voyage Home.
Yeah.
Final Frontier, Undiscovered Country.
Generations. Generations is bad?
Yeah.
Oh, man.
Generations.
That's the only other one I was interested in.
First Contact.
Yeah.
Insurrection. Galaxy Quest. Nemesis. Star Trek 9/11. Star Trek Into Darkness.
Yeah.
So you can't argue with statistics, is what I'm saying. I know I had to throw Galaxy Quest in there to make it work, but it works really well, all the same.
No, I think about Star Trek in general is that I think Abrams was wise to make these movies more. See, that's the thing, as I'm seeing more often, is not complaints about how they portrayed Khan, but just the fact that Abrams took this material and made it sort of a flashbang thing instead of a contemplative.
But that's the thing. Star Trek has always been. Its strength has been it's a little bit more cerebral, a little more socially conscious than stuff like Star Wars.
That's good, but it's dry.
Like Star Trek
Wrath of Khan
2009 trades on nostalgia. It's a big nostalgia trip. I know that. But it's good nostalgia. It captures the feel of old Star Trek more than anything else I've ever seen. And Star Trek 2 Into Darkness it's trying to be Star Trek 2 and failing. It's bad nostalgia. It's remember when Kirk yelled Khan, this time Spock yells Khan.
Yeah, but I'm gonna say something that's probably gonna get you a little mad.
Oh boy.
And say
Here
that
it comes.
Into Darkness is better than Wrath of Khan in every conceivable way. It does the things that Wrath of Khan does better. And I think if I ever have children and they're going to go look up to me and go, Daddy, what's Star Trek? Or Mommy, because you never know. I'll say, well, I'll show you, son. It's these two movies. And that's all you get.
You mean the reboot movie?
Yeah.
Well, then they're going to wonder who the hell Leonard Nimoy is, then, because...
I'll
he shows up
explain
in both of them.
I'll get them a storybook.
In this one, they say to him, "I know that you told me you could never tell me anything."
Okay, yeah. That is the worst part of Into Darkness, and I hate it, and I wish it was cut from the movie. Because
well, I'll tell you this one thing.
What happens in the movie is Spock is confronting Khan. They're in their ships, like Wrath of Khan, and all Spock can think of to do is, I should call my future self and see if he's ever met a person named Khan, and then see if they ever defeated Khan.
And they have no reason to think that. And it's the only way that these writers are able to make Khan a threat to these characters is by saying he was a threat.
I know.
Remember in Wrath of Khan, he was a bad guy. Tell them that.
That's the only reason that's in the movie is for Leonard Nimoy to say that Khan is a bad guy. But I don't think they needed to do that because we had Khan breaking that woman's leg on the ground, and they stun him, and he gets up like 3 seconds later. He's like, "Whatever, fuck you, I'm Khan."
Yeah, and they stunned him for pretty much no reason.
Well, they were going to stun him to take him back as a prisoner.
I don't like the look of this guy.
No. They didn't trust him. They want that was plausible, and it was also plausible because he's superhuman that he got up right away.
And by the way, that's the only thing Alice Eve gets to do is
get her leg broken.
Get her leg broken.
You know what? Whatever, because I love that.
Scream when Khan crushes her dad's skull between his fingers.
And I like that. I think if Multibon had a little, because all he does to show you he's a physical threat in Wrath of Khan is he picks up what's his face?
Sulu?
Nuclear vessels.
Chekhov.
Yeah. He picks him up at the start of the movie off the ground, and then you're like, well, he's pretty strong, I guess. And that's it. The rest of the movie is above the waist. He doesn't even get up in the rest of the movie. I like him as Khan. I do. I like Wrath of Khan. But it just feels like it's like here. And everything else that's good science fiction is a little higher.
Well, so much of this is science fiction that is like abusing technology as magic, basically. There's so much transporter in this movie. I'm speaking of the actual transporter.
I didn't think there was any more.
Not the film series, The Transporter,
yes.
Starring Jason Statham.
Yes, but Jason Statham was good as Leonard Nimoy.
Khan is able to transport himself directly to the Klingon planet. That's just... Why have a spaceship? I don't know.
If you're gonna, I don't know.
And the ship under the water for no reason in the opening sequence.
Well, it's to hide from the natives.
They can do that from orbit.
Yeah, but it's not cool. Yeah, everybody gets pissed at the ship hiding under the water, and I'm like, who cares? It's in the sky or it's in the water.
But they can warp down. They can beam down from miles.
You're looking at the sky.
Away. Yeah, I'm eyeballing
that cloud right there. They can warp to that.
They can beam. You beam from one place to another. The ship warps.
Sorry, you're right. I apologize profusely.
Point being, it's not a very good movie.
I like it. I do. And I think that I agree that Star Trek movies are a little more cerebral, and that's sort of their selling point with their fans. But that's also kind of why Star Trek fans in general kind of rub me the wrong way. They're a little snooty.
Star Trek fans, there were Star Trek fans who didn't like the first eight.
You know what Star Trek fans are? Star Trek fans are those people who show up at conventions like everybody else. They like to dress up and everybody else. Yeah. But Star Trek fans are these kind of people. They'll get in front of somebody who was from the show or the movies, and they'll be like, nah, in episode 34, Spock hit the xylophone in 2 different places and made the same noise. Are we supposed to believe this a magic Vulcan xylophone? Boy, I hope someone got fired for that one.
I'm just getting out of the frame so I don't get implicated in this impression.
Well, that's what I think of when I think of Star Trek fans. They're the people who go pick at every little fiber of everything.
And they probably didn't like the last movie. I say to them, get over yourself.
Stephen Tucker.
I love the first movie. I'd love nothing more than to have another movie that is as good as that one.
Can I say what I want Star Trek 3 to be? I want it to be Star Trek 3, The Wrath of Khan 2. I just want Khan to be the villain for the rest of these movies. Can they just, sign Benedict Cumberbatch up? I agree to play Khan for the rest of my life.
But this time,
my wife is having a baby, but they're filming Wrath of Khan 6. I have to go.
Knowing the way things have gone, though, next time Khan will be a black man.
Shut the hell up. It's a reboot, for the love of God. And
it's a reboot that takes into account what's happened previously in the timeline.
Yeah, but it's better. It's better. It's better. It does everything better. It does that radiation sequence better. It does it way better.
Well,
Kirk runs in and he has to climb this big thing, and there's suspense to it. And then
they've only been friends for an hour. of screen time in total. Kirk
What?
and Spock, so it doesn't mean as much.
What are you
to
talking
us.
about? They've had a whole other fucking movie to be friends.
They clashed in that movie.
They were
and
friends
they
at the
clash
end,
in this
though.
one.
Yeah, but they're still friends. Like, they're arguing over their friendship. Like, there's a difference. It's not like, I don't know if we can ever work together.
Well, I mean, to be fair, Pine and Quinto nailed that scene. And
They did.
I don't think it's a bad scene.
It's a good scene.
I just found it kind of pointless.
I really
I've
liked
seen
it.
that before.
But you haven't, because that's what I'm saying, is that it's better. Like, it's more suspenseful. In Wrath of Khan, Khan is like bloodied up in the most anticlimactic defeat ever in moviedom. Oh, let's shoot him. That's it. That's Wrath of Khan, by the way. That's how they defeat Khan. Every time that Kirk is bested in this movie, he's actually not, and it's kind of a kick in the balls to the audience. Like, what is it he says to Kirk? And then
Who, Khan?
Yeah, Khan, and he goes, "Buried alive."
Yeah, buried. Yeah,
and Kirk
Khan,
is
yeah.
Khan,
Yeah.
and you actually believe like this is it. Oh my god! Like, and then they go through like 10 minutes of screen time, and then Kirk is like, "Well, not really," and it's like, "Well, come on!" Oh, now we're back. Shoot him. That's it. And then he's like, "Well, I'll take you with me," and he activates the Genesis machine, which is also a nuclear bomb, and and they realize that just like in Into Darkness, they have to fix their radiation engine.
Yeah.
But in Wrath of Khan, Spock is the one to go in, and he goes in, and he puts on these giant oven mitts. And he takes the top off of a trash can, and it's intercutting between the nervous looks and floating away and Khan reciting Moby Dick, and then he's putting something else back in the trash can, and he's closing it.
That
and it's
meant
like
something, because we had seen Nimoy as Spock and Shatner as Kirk for decades.
You don't. No. You can't base a movie off the preceding series like that. You can't do that. You can't say, well, these guys have been through 79 adventures.
Yeah.
This is a big deal.
Well,
it's
I mean,
not.
what? I mean,
you have to judge the movie. No, you have to cut the movie off. If anything, you have to cut it off at the motion picture and then the end of Wrath of Khan, and that's all you get.
Well, no, I don't think you can consider the Star Trek movies in a vacuum. I think you have to consider what comes before in the show.
They're two different mediums. I mean, it's like Serenity with Firefly.
That's a terrible example.
I know, but it's got to work on its own.
Does it? I haven't seen either of those.
Wrath of Khan works on its own, but we all know, like, you have to live under a rock to not know that Kirk and Spock are best friends.
Yeah.
You know this. I know this before watching anything Star Trek. You just know it. So that's why in Wrath of Khan,
we've seen it. We've seen it. It means more if we have actually seen it before.
Here's the thing. I watch Into Darkness, and I watch Kirk dying and Spock in agony, and I feel something. I watch the same thing reversed in Wrath of Khan, and it's cold, and the acting's not really good for either of them.
They're military men.
Nimoy is doing this weird thing.
He's dying.
And Kirk and Shatner is looking really constipated. And and the fact that all he did was take out the radiation trash can.
Is it still going? It's still going.
And now we're back.